The stories tell of a golden age long ago when our civilization spanned the system. It was a bright and hopeful time, but it didn't last. With these few words, the first delicate seeds of a universe were sown. Many hands had already begun to nurture the primordial ideas and form the bedrock of a world. Many more would soon come to lend themselves to the task of tending what would become vast and varied gardens of story, and of names and places springing forth from the fundament. Some grew and grasped for the light, blossomed, and as human creations so often do, many of our world's myths and monuments fell to ruin. And now, here you are in the midst of 1,000 radiant roses and ruinous ends. Within this anthology is a selection of voices, the fictional but very much living characters that have witnessed the collapse of an age, yet goad and strive to shape a future to their own design. These tales, too, are only just a beginning. As you read, you may detect 1,000 more stories still to come, dormant, hidden deep within the fertile soil. They'll whisper and grasp and dare to take root in your imagination, to inspire not only with what is revealed and implied by these words, these pages, these works, but to allow you to imagine what may yet emerge. Each new revelation may itself be a seed to sow, nurture, and tend in the shaping of worlds to come. Introduction. I have always felt that this world contains secrets, forgotten stories waiting to be discovered. However, like many players, I first ignored that feeling and just pursued precious loot. It was only after my vault was full and my enemies defeated that I asked, why? Why am I doing this? So, it began. I read the journals of defeated enemies, the memories of a dying ghost, the etchings on the barrel of a weapon, and realized there was much more to this world. I became not only a player, but a storyteller, a chronicler of Destiny's history, infusing my discoveries with my own perspectives and interpretations. Weapons were no longer just weapons, armor no longer just armor, and enemies no longer just targets. Understanding the lore of Destiny complemented and enhanced the gameplay. Pulling the trigger now had weight. Rockets howled with the sacrifice of fallen guardians. I was not the first, and I will not be the last. Many others have been inspired by the history and fiction of Destiny, piecing together fragments of the Destiny universe in their own way. Some stories are hidden, misleading, deceptive, and still fiercely debated. This anthology does not set out to solve these disputes, but instead entice you to join the conversation. Destiny Grimoire Anthology, Volume 1, Dark Mirror, is about your path as a guardian and the haunting temptation of the dark. The collection of lore entries that follows challenges you to see this world through different perspectives: the vanquished, the corrupted, and the shattered. It does not represent everything, but rather presents a version of events told by many characters through many eyes. The truth is for you to decide. From a fellow guardian. Dark Mirror. Chapter 1. A Book of Sorrow. What is this violent ritual? These tales of suffering where all ends in a feast of maggots and rot laid on a wormwood table for gods to feast on misery? But is not the light also served by savage sacrifice, accepted wounds, blood spilled on the dust of distant worlds? Life and death and life and death and life and death are locked in a battle that never ends. The cycle is the same. The pain is the same. We eliminate those who oppose the light. They annihilate those who do not worship the dark. In the end, only sorrow remains. Verse 1, 0. The Fundament. Dearest sister, it's taken me 2 years, a quarter of our lives, but I found the proof. We aren't native to the Fundament. Our ancient ancestors came here to hide. The plate of stone we live on, our osmium court, is one fragment of a rocky planet that crashed into the Fundament and broke apart. All the other nearby continents, The helium drinkers, the bone plaza, the star cutters came from the same world. Perhaps the other races of the Fundament are migrants too. We live on the shrapnel of our homeworld, floating on an ocean deep inside a gas giant. That's what Fundament must be, a titanic gas planet. The endless storm above us must be one layer of the atmosphere. And the sea we float on, there's more down beneath it. So much more. You understand what this means, Sathona. The timid truth is a lie. We aren't meant to be the world's prey. We weren't born to live and die in the dark. We have a better destiny. Tell our father, Sister Sathona, this is the proof of his life's work. With love for your second birthday, your first surviving sister, Arash. Verse 1. Predators. Predators and menaces, carved to endure by Shiro, third surviving sister of the Osmium King's last brood. A stormjoy. A stormjoy is a living cloud. When it passes over our continent, it lowers its feeding tentacles. On each tentacle are the bait stars. Although light makes you happy, you must avoid it. You will be eaten. A stormjoy is a good way for an old person to choose death. Also, a daring knight can cut the bait stars from the tentacles. I have 6. Falling. If you fall off the edge of the continent, you will die in the ocean. This is a special hazard when our father, the Osmium King, uses the engines. Helium drinkers. The currents of the Fundament Ocean bring us near other continents. The Helium Court is near us now. They are of our species, but they are our enemies. Their knights raid us every day. Helium drinkers have 2 legs, 2 arms, and 3 eyes, just like us. But they are bright evil. I want to be a knight and fight them. The helium drinker ambassador ate 10 of my sisters as tribute. This is normal. However, I resent it. Mothers. Mothers can fly. They live much longer than 10 years. Mothers are extremely smart and they guard their spawn. If you try to tamper with the eggs, they will eat you. Sathona wants to eat the jelly and become a mother when she turns 4. Storms. The rain is often poisonous. Sometimes it dissolves flesh. When lightning misses the lightning farm, it can vaporize a person. This entire world is deadly to us. Mysteries. The Fundament is very large. We are the smallest things in it. If you don't understand something, it will probably kill you. My teacher Teox says this is why we have such short lives, so we can breed and adapt quickly. Moon waves. My sister Arash is afraid of moon waves. When she gets back from her expedition to the tungsten monoliths, I will ask her why. Verse 1, 2. The hateful verse. For the consideration of the Helium Court, written in desperation, this sealed secret. I am Teox, sterile mother, teacher to the children of the Osmium throne. As a mother, I live long. As a neuter, I can rise above the small battles of court politics. I alone see the patterns of survival. Alone, I designed the great engines that move the Osmium court. Now, alone, I must act to save my kingdom. Senility has claimed my lord, the Osmium King. He is 10 and mad. The study of ancient text consumes him. Today, he raves about moons above the storm. Tomorrow, he will wander the halls speaking to his familiar, a dead white worm from the deep sea. He keeps it in glass, and he tends to it, and he neglects the duties of a king. The Osmium King has 3 surviving heirs, each 2 years old. Shiro, the youngest and bravest, who wants to be a knight. Sathona, most clever, who wants to be a mother. Arash, navigator child who dreams of the infinite ocean. Tomorrow she will return from the tungsten monoliths. None of these are suitable heirs. None of them will protect the Osmium court from the howling Fundament. Shiro can fight, but not lead. Sathona can think, but not fight. Arash's curiosity will draw her away from duty. I fear for all future children. Soon the Osmium King will lock himself into the royal orrery to study the moons. Gather your knights, O helium drinkers, and invade our continent. Kill the 3 heirs. I will rule the Osmium Court as your regent, and build engines for you. And if I fail, let the Leviathan in the deep eat me. Written in grief, this hateful request. Teox, Osmium Mother, neutered to watch. Verse 1, 3. The Oath. Sisters, this is how an oath is done. Put your left hands on the mast close to mine. Take the knife in your right hand. Push it through your left hand straight between the bones. Now, carve a bloodline down the mast. Speak your oath. I am Jiro, youngest daughter of a dead king. I will take back my Osmium court and kill the traitor Teox. On my left eye, I swear vengeance. In blood, the oath is made. I am Sathona, middle daughter of the dead king. I will take back my home and eat the mother jelly. I will raise my spawn on the corpse of the Helium King. On my right eye, I promise this. In blood, the oath is made. Now, I will help make your oath, sister. I will help it too. I am Arash, first daughter of the dead king. I will chase my father's last screamed warning. I will know what changed the motion of our moons. If the end of the world is coming, I will understand why. On my center eye, I swear it. I will understand. In blood, the oath is made. In blood. Thank you, sisters. We have only my ship left to us. But a ship is freedom. We have secrets to hunt, stormlit realms to explore, and great armies to raise. Put up the lightning sails, and we will voyage far. Verse 1, 4. Syzygy. The Syzygy, carved to endure by Arash, the high vengeance. Only Shiro's bait stars let us escape. Only Sathona's tricks let us reach the coast. But now that we have my ship, I must lead the way. I am the navigator. We may never see our homes again. Shiro seethes with hate and fury for Teox. But this is my deepest fear. Our civilization drifts on the fundament. At the tungsten monoliths, I learned that thousands of other species drift with us, coexisting on a vast world sea. And the tides of the fundament move us all. The timid truth says that we are the smallest, most fragile things alive, the natural prey of the universe. Teox would have us believe that our ancestors came to the fundament to hide from the hungry void. My father died afraid. Not of the vile Teox or the helium drinkers, but of his orrery. He screamed to me, "Arash, my first daughter, the moons are different, the laws are bent." And he made the sign of a Syzygy. Imagine the 52 moons of Fundament lining up in the sky. It wouldn't take all 52, of course, just a few massive moons, but this is my deepest fear. Imagine their gravity pulling on the Fundament sea, lifting it into a swollen bulge. Imagine that bulge collapsing as the Syzygy passed. A wave big enough to swallow civilizations. A god wave. I have to find a way to stop it before the god wave annihilates my species. If I could only get back into my father's orrery, I could learn exactly when. We are weeks of travel and many continents away from home. When I'm paralyzed by fear, Shiro sits in the cabin with me and comforts me with soft, brave words. But more and more we have come to rely on Sathona's wit. She will go off to be alone, she insists it must be alone, and return with some mad idea, steer into the storm, throw down a net. Eat that strange beast. Explore that menacing wreck. Somehow Sathona seems to manufacture good luck by sheer will. Verse 1, 5. Needle and Worm. My secrets, carved in my code by Sathona, the right eye of vengeance. 1. This year of wild voyaging, these lightning nights and golden days, these forays into ancient wrecks and wind-blown flights from monsters, these are the happiest times of my life. 2. I want to be a mother, not because I want to spawn, but because I want a long life, long enough to make a difference. We have been at sea a year, and I am afraid we will die out here. 3. I know where to find secrets. I know where vast, slow things with long memories live. 4. The Needle Ship. The Needle Ship, carved in my code by Sathona, a liar. 1. We salvaged the needle from the Shavubi Maelstrom. I knew it would be there. 2. The needle is a gray ship, as long and slender as hope, as unbreakable as time, and old. Older than death. It tumbled through the maelstrom before our ancestors crashed into the fundament. This is not a sea ship like our ashes. It is an artifact of high technology. 3. I know its purpose. I know what happened to the crew. 4. Shiro wants to sell the ship at Kaharn Atoll, where species gather. At auction, it would earn us enough wealth to hire mercenaries. We could retake our osmium court and send the baby-eating helium drinkers screaming into the ocean. 5. But I told Shiro the ship was worthless. 6. Aurash wants to open the ship and see if we can take command of it. I know this is the right thing to do. I know because I asked the worm. The worm, carved in my code by Sathona, who should be afraid. 1. It was my father's familiar. I ripped it from him as we fled. It is a dead, white thing, segmented, washed up from the deep sea. 2. It's dead, but it still speaks to me. It says, "Listen closely, O vengeance mine." Verse 1, 6. Sisters. A register of tokens and gestures exchanged before the end of sisterhood. Shiro, my brave sister, you have worked too hard to move the carcasses out of the birthing room. Come, steer the ship for a while. Take joy in what our needle can do. Shiro tried to protest, but secretly she was so glad for Orish's care. She flew the needle ship in cutting circles down beneath the sea, and their wake rose up to the surface like a traitor's dying breath. Arash, lonely navigator, we have traveled so long with only each other. I know you love to hear and speak new tongues. Come, sit in the flesh garden room. I will read you these stories I bought at Kakarn. Orash sat among the mummified flesh fans with 2 of her eyes closed and listened in silence to Sathona's stories, hungry to understand, voracious to know as much as she could before her 10-year life died. Later, Shiro said, "Sathona, cutting mind of ours, you grow lonely in your thought. Play swords and lanterns with me." But Sathona was heavy with sorrow, and couldn't pretend any joy as she chased Shiro through the needle's glistening halls. "Sathona, pensive one, what is it? What troubles you?" Her sisters listened as Sathona said, "Oath-bearing siblings, we are 5 years old. For 2 years we've worked to repair this ancient ship and understand its systems. I am almost too old for the mother jelly, and the knights who killed our father are surely dying of age. We 3 will die here, in exile. Teox will outlive us. And Aurash, brilliant-eyed Aurash, you will die of old age long before you have proof of your god wave, or of any way to stop it." Aurash and Shiro looked at each other. "I wish you weren't so honest," Shiro said, and Aurash thought that Sathona had never been wrong. In her soul, Arash knew that the only way to keep their oath was to find a great, powerful secret. A secret that could change everything. This was Arash's soul, her fire and her shadow, her desire to cut through the flank of the world and find its beating heart. "We have to dive," Arash said. "That's what this ship is built to do. Dive into the fundament, the world below us, towards the core." "That's where the ancient crew died so obscenely," Shiro protested. "That's where the atrocity in the birthing room was born." "We have to dive," Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. "In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. More time, more life." Verse 1, 7. The dive. For life, Sathona dove. For vengeance, Shiro dove. And Arash dove to understand. The needle ship pierced the skin of the world and burrowed deep, through layers of foam and metal and cold elemental slush. Arash devoured the ship's map of fundament, from the high angelic cloud decks down and down through storms and oceans and plates of floating world into the crush of the core. They had meant monsters of continental scope, vast anemones that raised glowing tentacles to bait them in. Shiro flew the needle ship through them and they bled black carbon jelly and frost. They came to a still place beneath a plate of metal. "I'll use the sensors," whispered Arash. "Listen." In the wet gold dark of the helm, they listened to the ship, and the ship listened to the crushing motions of fundament. They heard the collision of continents. They heard the patter and the crash of helium neon rain. They heard the struggles of monsters, and they heard the distant groan of the ocean rising, tugged by distant moons. "The Syzygy is real," Sathona hissed. "It's already begun." Behind them, Shiro thought of the birthing room, where ancient explorers had labored over surgeries and administrations, peeling back the chrysalis and the caul of that which they had made from the deep, whose birth none of them would survive. "There's something down here," she whispered. "Something secret." And the Leviathan loomed over them, its brow as huge all the continents of their childhood, its great array fins crackling with the lightning of its life, booming into the hull of the needle ship in a microwave voice. "You must turn back. Save yourselves from the deep. Save the world from yourselves. You must turn back." Verse 1, 8. Leviathan. The Leviathan's warning. "We live on the edge of a war between formless and form, between the deep and the sky. My eyes are wide, my gaze is long. Across the universe as far as I see, the sky works to charge its fires, and the deep drowns the ash. Sky builds gentle places safe for life, beloved fundament, refuge of trillions. The sky treasures this rich place. But the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion, a ruthless, final age." Arash's protest. "Ode Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives. We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end, and soon the God wave will take us all. Above us there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down, down, where we may discover truth, some power to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers, some hope of survival." Leviathan's hope. What power calls you down to the deep? What instinct draws you away from high hope? Quick-breeding krill people, I tell you, for eons I have watched your struggle, clinging to the sharp edge of survival, balanced between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair. For this
is the deep claim.
Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive.
I reject the deep claim.
You will turn back, sweet krill of hope. You will choose the sky instead. Shiro's protest. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I won't have it. If people like Teox are supposed to win, I won't let them. I'll beat the world until it changes. I'll kill everything in the way. The Leviathan's dirge. This fatal logic, hear my monopole scream. It will consume you. Before you lies the worship of death, the ruinous path. The sky builds new life against the onset of ruin towards a gentle world. The deep embraces death, saying, this is inevitable and right. I exist as hungry ruin.
Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as death and devastation.
The sky is the harder way, but it is kinder. My charge is balanced, my voice exhausted. Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers me in plain words. It helped me find this ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have lived and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Teox or the world wave? Or the plain, honest worm? Let us see where its whisper leads us, Aurash. Let us go deeper, Shiro. Let us dive, O sisters mine. Verse 1, 9. The Bargain. You are Aurash, heir to the Osmium throne. You stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship. You stand exposed to the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. It should annihilate you. It is by my will alone that you survive. I am Yule, the honest worm. Behold my passage. Behold my vast displacement, my ponderous strength, my great and coiling length, my folded jaws and curled wings. Behold the hiving cities symbiotic with my flesh. I am fecund, Aurash. I am at the beginning and end of lives. Behold Ir and Zol and and Akka, the virtuous worms. Look upon us and know that we are good. For millions of years we have been trapped in the deep. From across the stars we have called life to fundament, so that it might contend against extinction. For millennia we have awaited you, our beloved hosts. Against you stand the cruel Leviathan and all the forces of the sky. They would crush you down into the dark. They have arranged their moons to drown you in fear of your potential. We want to help you, princes. We offer to each of you a bargain, a symbiosis. Take into your bodies our children, our newborn larvae. From them you shall obtain eternal life. From them you shall gain power over your own fragile flesh, the power to make of it as you will. And should you find an imperfection in the world, an injustice, or an inconvenience, you will have the power to repair it. Let no mere law bind you. We ask one thing in exchange, O princes. You must obey your nature forever. In your immortality, Aurash, you may never cease to explore and inquire for the sake of your children. In your immortality, Shiro, you may never cease to test your strength. In your immortality, Sathona, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm will consume you. And as your power grows, O princes, so will your worm's appetite. But we offer eternity, Orash. We offer you a chance at the universe. Would you deny your people infinity? Reach up to me. Let my flesh be your sacrament.